There we go. Zoom Robot Lady has bestowed upon us the opportunity to start chatting. So I am joined today by Joey and James of Sydney old school death metal slash tech slash a lot of other things, Anoxia. They have just come back off a successful tour with Atheist, and I'm pretty sure I can pretty reasonably assume you guys are feeling pretty stoked about that right now.
Yep.
Yeah, that was super sick.
Awesome, awesome. So how are things feeling now that you guys are back in Sydney after the tour?
Pretty depressing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think post-tour depression hits us all pretty hard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you guys had a pretty hectic schedule too, and like a lot of energy going into your performance, and a lot of having to run around and the usual touring caper that people might not, might not be privy to because they get to catch you on the stage, have a mosh, and then wait for the next band. So it was a pretty hectic tour then, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, a lot of traveling, a lot of
Yeah.
planes, a lot of cars, a lot of waiting around, but it's all part of the day.
Yeah, yeah. So, how did you guys feel? How did it feel to be touring with? I mean, I can imagine, but how did it feel from you guys touring with such an iconic death metal band on their first ever Australian tour?
Yeah, it's
James?
pretty eye-opening. Like
Yeah.
all those guys. Kelly's a the classic original frontman, but all the other dudes they're all young like us, and
Mm,
we all kind of clicked together and got on super well. And it
mm,
was
mm,
just pretty surreal seeing such a tight group of musos playing together. Like
mm.
like those guys were spot on the whole time, the whole set, every single city, even after they've been touring for well over a month. Like,
Crazy.
every time we
Yeah.
tour with another band, it's like, holy shit, there's so much higher to go, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Was it almost kind of like intimidating just watching just that? Because with the Melbourne show that we reviewed, you guys played at, it was like you guys were on fire. All the bands were. But that, yeah, there was just this note precision accuracy with Atheist that was just, I, I was just bewildered. So you guys must have enjoyed getting to sit back and watch that in action.
Yeah, I wouldn't say intimidating. I would more so say inspiring
Hell
is
yeah.
what
Yeah.
what we would all agree.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. Hell yeah. And you guys put on a really fantastic show yourselves. Like, you got to cut yourselves some slack. Like the music that you guys are playing harkens from a lot of that late 80s, early 90s old school mixed in with a bit of more recent technical flair. Like you guys are playing some pretty intricate tunes up there on stage yourselves.
I mean, yeah.
I'm just
Is what it is, yeah.
is what it
I
is,
mean,
yeah.
it is pretty well put together. Um, I
Mm,
enjoy it as well as like, you know, help sing it and stuff. So
mm.
yeah, we try and take the best things we like about the genre and meld them together into us.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a lot of fun doing it. We have heaps of fun. Probably too much fun.
There's no such thing as too much fun, mate. Um, so how did it feel for you guys around the release of Revel in Sin? Because I've just been having a look at the incredible amount of media that is out there at the moment. I mean, you guys recently, Elias recently interviewed Atheist with Headbangers. Shout out to Dan. But also, you guys have been featured on Heavy Mag and you've had some recent successful album launch tours too. So it seems like you guys are having a bit of a meteoric rise at the moment.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I think, it depends on city to city as well, but even then, Melbourne, we don't play Melbourne too much, and we did
Mm,
our album launch there, and
mm,
we sold more merch at our album launch than we did at Melbourne Atheist, even though there was, 8 times as many people there.
mm.
So it just shows, we can come to a city we don't play often, and people are still like, yeah, this is sick. Yeah, we want to rep a shirt. That's pretty eye-opening for us all.
Mm, mm. It must have been a proud moment too when, I mean, Kelly had an Anoxia shirt on. Was it the Sydney gig?
I don't think he took it off. He's still wearing it. Saves it. No, I love him for that. He repped it pretty well over in Japan as well.
Mm,
Everyone
mm.
asked him to just threw it at him and said, "Look, use it as tea towel if you want." But yeah, he wore it for a while over in Japan as well, which is fucking mad to see.
Yeah. He seems to that whole crew, they just seem to have such a like a punk rock DIY attitude to touring too. Like I was so for me as a punter and reviewer and everyone else that was with me, everyone got to spend time with the band. The band were just amongst the venue, hanging out as though they're punters. And I think that must have been, was that like refreshing for you guys to see from an international band of their caliber on tour as well?
Yeah, that's super refreshing.
Mm,
Like, we've toured with a few American bands now. They've all been great. They've all been super great people to tour with. But like touring with ACS felt like you were touring with your mate's band. Like
yeah.
there was no, you know, cold water period with them. It was just like straight into how the fuck's it going? Haven't seen you in my whole life, but you're my best mate now.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that was that good for like helping easing for like with it being a big tour, helping easing like some worries or anxiety you might have had about joining the bill or
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, it was just a breeze, really.
mm.
I think the worst part about it was just waking up after 3 hours of sleep.
God, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys woke up and it was slept, man.
And that's probably what that post-tour slump is for a lot of people too. It's also your body going, "Hey man, I got a fatigue debt. It's time to pay the bill."
Mm.
Yeah. So around the tour, do you have any sort of particular like either funny or particularly memorable moments? Maybe Joey, is there anything that stands out from you that's like,
Heaps, man. Like I could go through the whole tour
yeah,
and pick up the sweet that happened on every night of the tour, you know. So I probably got to say Alex falling down some stairs and crashing into a wall, the one guitarist and Atheist. It's not. It was kind of funny because we all looked at each other in a panic, and then we realized he was just really drunk and it was all good. And then we had like a laugh about it in the fire escape, taking all the gear downstairs at like midnight. I don't even know what time it was. I don't even know what day it was, but I'll
yeah,
remember that forever. Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. And again, that just adds to the punk rock flavor of their touring. Like, you know what I mean? You think death metal bands, you think bunch of guys cross arms, right? We're going back to have drinks in the green room. Now you've got old mate falling down a flight of stairs. James, do you have any anecdotes that you can recall from the tour that kind of stick out?
Uh, I think the funniest thing was the casual mistaking of me and their bass player. We both seem to be hairy individuals, and from a distance,
Yep.
sometimes it can be hard to tell. So yeah, I think even Anthony sometimes and Elias. I think even you, Joey. I think you approached Yoav at one point, thinking it was me, and that was
The
just funny
first
the whole
time I
tour.
met you, I thought it was James, and I was like, "What are you doing, bro? It's like chicken on the menu or something." And he looked at me like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Oh shit, you're not the dude I thought you were."
James, dude, if someone ever mistook me from Atheist, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so honored. But also, I can't
Oh yeah,
balance
me
on
too.
those foldbacks like he can.
No,
No,
I wish I was that pretty.
yeah,
Don't we all? Don't we all? Yeah, very photogenic bassist. Um, yeah, so you guys have come back from the tour. You've had like a really successful run. I'm gonna be almost. I can expect the answer in advance because I've heard nothing but good praise about the bloke. But Anthony, your mate bookings, um, how's that having him managing the tour?
amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. The guy's just like knows what he's doing at all
Mm,
times. He goes the extra mile. Like I've seen it firsthand. You
yeah,
know, he's got just a solution for everything on the fly, which is good for someone that's doing that kind of stuff and
yeah,
traveling with the band. You know, the whole thing
mm,
was seamless. You know, and it
mm,
was, it was a group effort. But Anthony's probably the man for the job. I wouldn't have anyone else do it, to be honest.
Yeah. You have thoughts about that as well, James? Like what's your sort of take on the tour from
Oh,
the management point of view?
yeah, Anthony's just, he's the guy to go with, in my opinion.
Mm,
We've played other shows with other managers, and it's all been good. It's all gone relatively smoothly. But Anthony's there. He's there every night. He's there watching the show. He's there selling merch, talking to people, chatting with the band. He's
Making sure
great
we've
on
got
social
beer in the
media.
room.
Like he acts like a punter as well. Like he's
yeah.
part of the show experience. He's
Yeah, I
not
saw
just
him.
there to sit in the back and get a paycheck. He's actually part of the experience.
I was up the front row, destroying what little is left of my neck vertebrae after you banned. And I saw him and I gave him a point, and he's up there, he's headbanging, and Kelly comes over and gives him a shot. And I think that really speaks to also this podcast, not sponsored by Your Made Bookings, but like for real, I think it's really important to have that in the Australian music industry to have people that are actually stuck in grassroots involved. Like for instance, just a tangent. When I reviewed Brute Fest, like Anthony was helping the Glassies and stuff, like he's there, he's in it. So it sounds like for you guys for this tour, again, I'm using the same analogy, but just a very DIY feeling tour. Like everyone's intermingled, everyone's amongst the crowd, everyone's getting involved kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it's
definitely.
all about. Love it.
Do you
After
guys,
shows we play, it's like music's half of it. The other half of it's getting to see our friends in Canberra or see our new friends in Brisbane or
yeah,
even newer friends in Perth, you know.
yeah,
That's
yeah. And
camaraderie.
do you guys feel that it's also, this is maybe just my perspective, but do you guys feel that it's also breaking some of the like death metal stereotypes? Because it's almost, death metal is something that could be presented as very serious, crossed arms up the back. Not going to be, I'm not going to, even the punters sometimes you've got to ring a people up the back. You, Joey, you were putting some call outs like, come on, mate. Yeah, it took them a few songs, but by the end of it, maybe a couple of pints, those guys started filtering in. But um, do you guys feel that having that closer, more friendly vibe actually kind of goes against some of the tropes about death metal and this is serious business sort of thing?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, there's two different stereotypes. There's the exterior, non-metalheads opinion of metalheads, and then we all know what we're all like. But I think that behavior just keeps people coming back, and it
Mm,
keeps people wanting to be involved in the scene and keep
mm,
coming to shows, come to local shows, not even international supports, because
mm,
you know it's just like a big family in the end.
mm,
So,
mm.
but I think metalheads are always the stereotype's just a stereotype.
Yeah.
We're all pretty, big cuddly teddy bears.
Oh, we sure are. We sure are. Doesn't matter how deep and guttural Joey belts out on the stage. I'm sure he's just as cuddly as you and I, James.
Yeah, ask Christina.
And speaking of the local scene, that's something I wanted to sort of drill into because so for me, I'm from mid North Coast, New South Wales originally, and Sydney had quite a buzz around the metal scene when I was growing up, getting into metal, late 90s, early 2000s. But it's kind of hard for me as like living in Victoria to get a grasp on the sort of what's happening with the Sydney metal scene. Within your kind of niche, death metal niche, do you have any kind of local heroes, local favorites you guys really are enjoying shows, releases from the Sydney scene?
Dead by Dawn's on there.
Mm,
You know, who else we got? Just in New South Wales, or it goes beyond that. But
yeah.
all right, James, throw a few names in there.
I'm
Dead by
always a
Dawn.
fan of I'm always a fan of Slaughter Cult. They've been my friends since
Ah,
their
nice.
second gig ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Aftermath and Dave Formady's in there. You know, they're both sick as well. Mid North Coast as well as like Burial Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
They go
Yeah.
hard. I'm probably gonna, because I'm put on the spot. I'm not gonna remember shit, but that's how it goes, right?
Yeah.
But
That's fine.
T-Rex
I'm not
Hilltops,
testing now.
they're like a bit different, but you can jam with the songs. You know, you can go and have a good time still.
Mm.
Which, well, same what we do. We just do it death metal style. You know,
Mm.
still go
Mm.
to the show, have a good time, drink heaps of beers, throw yourself around, buy a shirt. You know, any genre, anything in Sydney,
Yeah.
because Australia needs it because it's fucking hard here, right? Especially in Sydney, especially in Australia, to
Yeah.
do anything with music. You know, as soon as you think about going overseas, like, oh, that's a bank loan right there, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
So enjoy it here. You know, there's some really cool things happening around, and I'll hear a lot from punters. Oh, you know, how long you guys been around? You know, we've been 6 years plus, and it's just because people don't really want to come out to the public, sorry, the local shows. So go to
Mm.
those local shows. They're fucking mad.
Yeah.
They're-
Do you guys think that there's a bit of a difference in terms of like the flavor for going to local shows in Sydney versus other capital cities or
I guess it's hard to gauge, We're a Sydney
mm.
band, so if we play Sydney, we're gonna have more people come out than when we play Melbourne.
Mm.
Um, I've played Melbourne in quite a few of my past bands, pretty much all of my past bands, and they've all been relatively the same turnout,
Yeah.
with the exception to Frankston, because there's some of the younger kids they come out, and it's usually an all ages show at the Singing Bird,
Singing
so
bird, yeah.
you can usually get 60 people,
Mm.
70, 80 people for a local show. Depends on who's in the lineup, really. If you play with a lot of the local favorites, you're gonna pull their crowd, and then they're gonna go, oh, this Sydney band I've never heard of, they're sick.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I think it really depends. I mean, even in Canberra, sometimes that pulls, and it's Canberra's not that big.
Mm.
So
Mm.
sometimes I'm usually shocked when we pull a crowd at Canberra, because
Yeah.
it's just like the ratio of punters to population is pretty crazy.
Yeah. And it's good to see that happening. And it's good to hear that that's happening with Sydney because from my, I guess, now outsider perspective, the only times I'm hearing about Sydney, New South Wales, the scene there is this venue's closed, that venue's closed. It honestly feels like from my perspective now, not living near Sydney, that's the only kind of music news that I get other than releases and that sort of thing. Do you what do you guys feel about the kind of the state of the Sydney scene? Like in that context, with the news always being about, oh, they've closed down this venue. I mean, it's happening in Melbourne too, but is the Sydney scene you feel still healthy?
Band wise, it's healthy. Venue
Yeah.
wise, could do with a few more, but you know, it's what it
Yeah.
is. We just lost Frankie's, which was an awesome venue.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think there's going to be something at the Adjunct Court Hotel, just across
Mm.
from Central Station there, but I'm not even sure, like, if that's the thing anymore. Um, yeah, could use a few more, definitely.
And I think that also speaks to the realities of the industry at the moment, right? Like we've got venues closing because the price of everything's going up, commercial leases are going up, and owners can't afford to pay. And I think that that's something that's sort of been spoken about in the media, but probably not much. For you guys, do you find it challenging in the music industry at the moment with like the current state of like cost of living crisis filtering down to all that?
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Like even then, our Perth flight was 2 grand as a band, and we made not even half that back
Yeah.
on the merch, and so the it was a loss in terms of financially,
Mm,
but it's I mean it was our first show there, and the other states made up for it, and it was pretty much broke even by the time we got home. But
mm.
it's pretty tough for everything: food, flights, taxis, petrol, accommodation. All of that adds up. Man, it's pretty insane, but we're all pretty on the same wavelength of if we can break even,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we
Yeah.
want.
investment, especially when you're traveling to someone like Perth. You have to think of it as an investment
Yeah.
because it's nothing else, you know.
Mm.
It's a rite
Mm.
of passage too. I think every band that wants to tour state to state should do Perth because the
Yeah.
place is just magic. You go there and have a fucking awesome time. So every band should do it. Don't worry about how much it costs. Just do it eventually.
Exactly.
Western Australians watching and listening are just fucking cheering right now.
Mm.
But it's
I had an awesome time there. Everyone did. The place went off and it
mm,
just sucked so far away, you know. We had some people there that saw us play with Left to Die in Adelaide that were in Perth. Don't know why, but that happened. So awesome time. Every band should do it.
that's great. That's great. So, do you guys find then? So you've mentioned that with touring, it's often like you kind of make the concession, like, all right, we broke even on that one, boys. Like, good stuff. With just with how hard everything is at the moment, right? And having to navigate the realities of being musicians, what sort of things individually for you guys? Maybe I'll start first with James this time. What helps keep you sort of motivated and fresh in facing everything we've got going on with economy, this news stuff? I won't even get into that. What do you find helps keeps that spark going?
Honestly, just we play a show and we see someone there we know, and knowing that they wanted to spend their money to
Mm,
come to a show, even though food prices are through the roof, rent on mortgages, whatever, is so expensive. They still want to come to the show. They still
mm,
want to come. They want to buy a new shirt, or they want to buy the headlining band's merch. Like nothing makes me happier than seeing Atheist merch selling out by the end of the tour,
mm,
or us selling, you know, so many shirts we already have, triple XL in stock. Just
mm.
knowing that people actually want to come and buy that stuff, even when life's hard,
Yeah,
that's motivating.
yeah,
Um, and knowing that, it's not really that the scene is dying, it's just that people can't afford to come out
yeah,
sometimes. I've felt that too. I've had
yeah,
to not go to gigs. I had to miss out on Suffo and Sydney because I was choosing between that and another gig.
yeah. Mm, mm. So for you, it's like it's a real sense of gratitude, like appreciation that, hey, amongst everything we've got going on, you, punter, have still elected to take your dollars and, as Joey said, invest it in us for a show.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Joey?
Yeah, James pretty much nailed it, man. Just like the fun we have doing it is
Mm,
what motivates me, you know. I love having a few drinks and walking around the crowd and, you know, talking to people, making new friends.
mm,
You know, definitely sort of half an hour of the night, you know, we're there for 8 hours sometimes. So we tend to hang around and have chats with people and we're all there for the same reason. We're all metalheads, you know.
yeah.
We all love drinking beer and banging our heads and going home sore and all that. So yeah, and just like James said too, when people come out and they're wearing Anoxia shirts, it's awesome. You know, it's like words can't really describe. You know,
Mm.
like well, we practice like every Sunday slash maybe Saturday for the past like 5 years at least. You know, so
Wow.
it's good to see
Weekly?
people. Yeah, basically, we might
Yeah.
have a day here, a week here or whatever off, but 95% of the past like 5 years, yeah, we pack weekly and cost to that as well.
Yeah.
So it's good when people they like what we do and they come to the shows and we're all starting to get a bit more confident on stage and stuff, especially myself. So when I can, you know, say fucking you guys all headbang and go crazy and shit and they do it, it's like, yeah, this is why I'm here because I love this
Yeah.
shit, you know.
Yep.
So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, cool. And I did notice that about your show. Like, James, I thought your head was going to roll off the side of the stage, off the fucking barrier, because you're windmilling that hard. Joey, you were looking a menace. I loved you. You had a real death metal prowler stalk going on, and I was like, yeah, like real. Just you just fit that kind of like. I really liked your performance, how you were just sort of walking around, just like you're like, I'm gonna fuck someone up, sort of look like it really fit it. Because I think as well for death metal too, when you guys are playing something that's technically challenging, people might bitch and go, "Oh, they didn't move," but also, if you're playing this, and I'm doing for those listening air fingers, you're playing technical stuff, can be hard to do, but also I think that's what I appreciated about your set too. It's that, yeah, you're playing challenging stuff, but I could tell the onus was there with your set. Like, yeah, we're gonna play Whittly Diddly da da da, Morbid Angel meets Suffocation meets XYZ, but we're gonna rock out while we're doing it.
Yeah.
And in terms of the material itself, guys, too, so with the transition from your demo to Revel in Sin, like what I've noticed, and you've commented about this in other interviews, there's a lot more like dynamicism there, like a lot more elements of groove and stuff. But at the same time, I feel like an increased technicality too. So maybe walk us through a bit how you guys went through the songwriting process for the last album, or the most recent album, I should say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's harder for me to comment on it because I joined basically a few months before we went to record, so
Right.
I had the opportunity to record all my bass lines and add my own influence on the album. The song structure and the riffs, that was all pre-written by Elias from that point.
Mm.
I know Joey has an influence in there as well because Joey plays guitar.
Mm.
But like majority of the songwriting on Revel in Sin is Elias. So I mean he's unfortunately not on the call, but I do think that the main goal was just to further emphasize on what we wanted to portray in our EP, which is
Mm.
that Morbid Angels suffer sort of influence. There's slammy bits, there's groovy bits and hooks,
Mm.
and it's definitely that old school vibe, but it's like familiar and new at the same time. And I think that's
Mm.
exactly what we wanted to do for Revel in Sin.
Mm. Mm. Your thoughts on that, Joey?
Yeah, pretty much. Just make each song like an anthem to,
Mm.
have its own hooks and themes and feels and stuff. And yeah, Elias did a pretty good job with it, and just try and phrase things best I can for the vocals. And yeah, it's pretty much just Elias, man. But we're already sort of working on album number two, and this time James is with us for the writing and creativity process and all that. So I think it's going to go probably better than it went last time, to be honest. Yeah, and we're
Wow.
all brilliant with ideas, and yeah, it's happening now. I think we've got, I don't know, two sort of ideas ready to go, maybe for the next show. Who knows?
Oh, nice one. And I
Yeah,
I noticed that it's a like as you've mentioned, there's definitely a thread of like even with your bass lines, James, um, and people might not say the vocals, but I think the vocals fit great. With the riffing in particular, I do notice that there is a lot of focus on melody and not in a way that transcends you guys over to, I don't know, In Flames, 2000s In Flames knockoff domain. But there's definitely a strong element of groove and melody. It's pretty clear on disc and during the show that melody's quite an important part of it too for you guys. Like not just straight Anata style shred blast at you, but a lot of onus on harmonics, harmony, melody, that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and even with the bass in particular, I didn't want to just, come on the album and play open notes.
Yeah.
If I'm not playing a unique bass line, I'm covering the guitar. I might not be picking the same tempo,
Mm,
but I'm playing the same notes, and I think that's what helps having only one guitar is by the bass also, mimicking the guitar as well.
mm,
And then also on top of that, not just copying the guitar, like I'll
mm,
throw in some walking bass sort of melodic parts. I'll have a tappy riff. The album ends on a bass solo as well. So it's not just open notes, it's not just copying the guitar, it's a good mix between all of that.
mm.
So
And
And
I
I
think,
think, yeah,
mm, yeah.
Elias adding solos in now to more solos now. Um, he's exploring that whole new realm of how to write a solo, and I think he nailed it because they're all catchy and they're all melodic and unique.
Mm. And as a fellow bassist too, it's always refreshing to be in a band where you're not just, you're not just put in the classic position of you're the root note and octaves monkey and you fucking deal with it. Like
Yeah,
it must feel
exactly.
good to have a bit of that, like these guys of giving you that like creative license because sometimes like death metal bass is really coming to prominence at the moment, but you always run the risk of being in a metal band and someone being like, hey, why are you playing a third? Back to
Yeah,
the root.
exactly.
So
I
props,
always like to channel my inner Ryan Martini from Mudvayne and
hell
just
yes.
do whatever the hell I want because why not?
Cool. So we get some Bird Bird Dang on the next album.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. I have to drop the
Say
pick for that.
Joey's like, And what about for yourself, Joey? Like, who are your sort of main vocal influences? You've got a very sort of like a gruff, I don't know, off the top of my head, who to compare it to, but it's that lower register. Reminds me a lot of actually early Bloodbath, just that really like low guttural sort of. Do you have any particular vocal influences yourself?
Oh yeah. Gwen Benson D side's probably like on par with Corpse Grinder. Just
Yep.
like the greats, man. I really liked Damien Boynton's work in Vital Remains,
Yep.
as well as like Glenn Benson was on that as well. Ross Dolan from Immolation,
Mm,
Peter from Hypocrisy, just to rattle
mm,
off a few. Yeah, there's I try and find something I like in like a lot of vocals and vocalists and try and like do my own thing again, basically like what we do with the band, you know.
mm,
Um, I like to think if I was like gonna be a vocalist and I could just pick the vocals I wanted, I'd be like Corpse Grinder's pronunciation with like Glenn Benton's like husk, like his balls, you
yeah.
know. That would be perfect to me. So that's what I try and replicate.
Yeah.
I don't think I do to the level I wanted to, but you know,
Mm,
it's going all right. So yeah.
mm.
And if
And
you see this Glenn Benton,
mm,
come to Australia. Fucking hell.
yeah, God, please already. You've got a pretty mean Benton slant to your growls too. So I'll give you that. And a bit of Corpse Grinder too, I reckon. I think your influences are coming out for you as a vocalist in this sort of music. So going back to you were talking about phrasing, that kind of thing. Do you ever find it like challenging where to sort of put in vocal parts, or is it kind of more natural for you? Like, how does that sort of work for you?
Some of it comes pretty naturally because I'll cling to something, you know, like be it guitar, be it like Marco. I'll find something, I'll cling to it, and I'll kind of try and put something around it. Other times where I can't, I'll just try and freestyle a few different ways and sort of have a line there, but spit it differently a few times and trial and error and see which one sort of I like best and go from there. But yeah, generally try and cling to something and drive with that, you know.
Awesome. This just
Yeah.
sounds like you guys have a really organic process, really. Like for playing music that's technically challenging, it just sounds like it's a very organic way of songwriting for you guys, just figuring out what works, adding in parts. Is it a
Hmm.
bit experimental too, by the sounds of it?
James.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm
I
not
wouldn't
really
call it.
like.
We're not going too far from the tree, you know. We are old school death
Mhm.
metal, so
Mm.
just try and
Yeah,
write, you know, cool music that makes people move. You know, don't go try and go over the top technical. It's just not our jam, you know. But
Mm.
parts of it
I,
are
I,
pretty technical.
yeah. I think that people generally want to hear what they've been listening to the whole time. Like, people want to hear the same thing, but not in the sense of the same thing and it gets boring.
Mm.
I think, for me, I'm the type of guy that will have 10 albums listen to them on repeat for 6 months, and then I'll find another 10 albums. But they still always sound relatively similar,
Mm,
and that's how I kind of think, we're not playing the same thing all the time, but we do sound like the bands people want to listen to. And
mm,
I think that by avoiding just being the same damn thing the whole time is throwing in some technical elements or some hooks, or we're gonna implement some more clean acoustic interlude stuff in the next album. So that's also gonna be very interesting, very like Gorguts Considered Dead
hell yeah.
type vibes, I'm
I'm
hoping.
I'm keen. Gorgut's
Yeah.
considered dead. You've already sold me a copy in advance. Don't even worry about it. Okay, well, I think to wrap it all up in a bit of a nice bow too, and since we're talking about we're talking about the sort of producing, the songwriting end of things, for you guys, as a band playing this style of music. What advice would you have? And I'm going to make this a little bit more specific, I think. What advice would you guys both have for, let's say someone is seeing you play live or listening to Revel in Sin, and they're either haven't started playing or they're at a certain level and they think, I can't play like that. What advice would you have for someone in that situation who's wanting to move into death metal or maybe perhaps bring things up a notch in their playing as a musician or even as a vocalist too, of course?
Yeah, I reckon everything's kind of has its own steps. Like just start out with the classics like Black Sabbath. Like that's not hard to play
Mm,
in comparison, Play
mm,
learn some Black Sabbath, learn how to hold the guitar, hold a bass, learn how to get your fretting hand fingering correct, or if you're gonna play fingers on the bass, get the galloping going, listen to some Iron Maiden, something like that,
mm.
and then just keep challenging yourself because eventually you'll get to the point where you realize that song that was impossible to learn in the beginning is now where the bottom of the bar is. And now there's a new song at the very top. And then you
Mm.
just keep climbing that ladder of learning more and more and more. That's at least how I, learnt the bass and got to where I am, was just to keep challenging myself.
Fantastic. And now you're strumming chords and two-hand tapping and all sorts live, and I'm standing back going, "Damn, bro, I got to up my game." What about you, Joey? For you as a
Oh,
vocalist?
then I can just make friends, have fun, surround yourself in the people that you want to be, of that genre. So if you want to be a death metal dude, go to a death metal show and make some
Mm.
friends and tell them where you're at with things. And hell, they'll probably come over your house and have a jam with you. Who knows?
Mm.
It could be your next project. That's how a lot of things start. Just talking to people and, again, the camaraderie. So, yeah, someone asked me the same, very similar question in Brisbane with the Atheist. Just the reply was just have fun, make friends, everything will fall into place. So,
Awesome. I think that that is just a perfect chef's kiss, a tie off to this interview. Make friends, have fun, enjoy the process. So, thanks, fellas. I've really enjoyed our time together, and thanks for sticking through a bit longer than your usual interview too. It's been interesting. So, really looking
yeah,
forward to see what happens with your if you got any shows upcoming at the moment.
Yeah, we just announced on just now. We're supporting Christian in Sydney, so that's obviously Brazilian death metal.
And if that ain't the endorsement of the century for our very voluntary, no sign up donation page at ko/fi.com/inner strength check, if you feel like slinging us a couple of bucks because Zoom lady cut us off. So, as mentioned by James, big congratulations to the fellas for landing a support with Brazilian, Crisian, Brazilian Death Thrashers. That's going to be a fantastic show. And also just wanted to give, yeah, high praise for their fantastic live show. These guys are really killing it at the moment. I want to give my thanks to, as per our prior interview, prior gig review, Anthony from Your Mate Bookings. Anthony's actually also involved with the artist management. And while we didn't discuss that in the interview proper, we kind of went in every direction, really. There's been nothing but good words, kind words about Anthony's management style. So I just wanted to give props to Anthony Blaney and again to the Leadbeater Hotel in Richmond from our review of the gig, which you can see on the website. And we were discussing an album there, Revel in Sin, which has been out since April. You can check that out at the band's links, which I'll have in the show notes, as well as some other goodies and info about all things Anoxia. Shout out again to James and Joey for joining me on a long chat. And also, if you would like to see more of these interviews, there'll be plenty coming. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this one. I know it was a bit of a longer one. And also just remember to support the scene and get in on those Crisian tickets, because that's going to sell like hotcakes. So go check it out. Cheers, guys.